be interested to get your thoughts in terms of the differences that you see in the market when it comes to the ways that goods and services are managed by procurement, in the sense that in some ways goods are more simple, but there are other issues on that side, whereas services are harder to measure and define. What's your kind of experience of what you see in the market?
Well, I mean, I think goods procurement, in a sense, can be a lot more straightforward at the sourcing end. If you know what you want, if you're sourcing a part for a machine, or if you're sourcing a particular materials for packaging that you make for the product that your company produces, then it's fairly straightforward in terms of what you're looking for there. Obviously, you can have some creativity around the size of that, but then that's much more about fulfillment and supply chain and making sure things are where they need to be when you need them. What I've found, and so in my experience in government procurement, we had a lot of collaborative buying that went on for goods, because a bin that you would put your rubbish in that you would use where you live is probably the same as a bin that I use where I live. It might be a different colour, so actually it makes sense to standardise the specification and to buy the same bin. And often across organisations, you can do a lot of that consolidation of spend, of trying to bring things together. Supplies are a bit different because services are a bit different, because obviously it's not necessarily always that straightforward to buy services. So I suppose if you're buying a transactional service like a call centre, then you might say, well, I want the phone answered after so many rings, etc., etc. But customer satisfaction, customer service are a lot more difficult to measure and to source than a part that's a certain size that fits a certain piece of machinery. So you're often looking at what good looks like, what quality looks like, and what sort of outcome you're trying to achieve from that. And back to my example of a call centre, I might ring up because my electricity is off, and I might want to find out what's happening. Now, the person in the call centre can't turn the electricity back on for me, but they can deliver a very good customer service that at the end of it, I come out feeling well served. And that's, I suppose, the devil's in the detail around quality, but I can be a very transactional call centre that doesn't treat the customer particularly well, that's very mechanistic or very standardized about what people can say, and the customer then comes away feeling rubbish and goes onto Twitter and tweets about it. So you've got something around quality there in services that is different. And a lot of things that we did in my previous experience was to go to the market for outputs or outcomes. So what's the outcome we're trying to achieve from this service? Well, if it was a service for a vulnerable young person, the outcome is that young person's mental health being improved. Now, that's quite a difficult thing to specify and to measure, but that's services procurement compared to I don't know, buying that young person a train ticket to go somewhere, which is more on that side. So yeah, I mean, that's a roundabout way of talking about the differences. But I think quality, the human interaction, and that sort of thing does come into services much more than goods. And you can have catalogues for goods as well, things like you just go on and catalogues, and as I say, it's a bit more transactional, and where procurement thought comes in there is making sure stuff gets where it needs to go.
So I guess it's more of a logistical effort on the goods side to a certain extent, whereas the services, there does need to be some thought put into it, because they're generally more difficult to define. Yeah. They're not going to be standardized as you would get with the goods type catalogue, and it's harder to measure because it's more nuanced.